Galloway's Support Through Sight Loss.
Galloway's Get Active presents Yarrow Valley Park.
Hi guys, James here again from Galloway's, and today we're at Yarrow Valley Country Park, which is between Chorley and Coppell, also known as Birkacre. It's a lovely autumn day. We've got the nice autumn colours, as you can see behind me, and today we're going to bring you on a virtual walk and tell you about the history of the site. There was a lot of mills and things like that around here, so we'll describe that to you as we're going round and show you some points of interest, some of the sights and sounds. You can hear robins singing in the background as well, so come along, stay tuned, and we'll see what we can find.
Water-powered corn mill site, located on the small car park next to the visitor centre, which is where I'm stood now. This site dates back to the 15th century.
It's a carving of a face in a big old tree stump.
So located in the main car park in front of the visitor centre would have been Richard Arkwright's cotton mill, and this was built in 1777 by Edward Chadwick and leased to Richard Arkwright. It was burnt down by rioters in 1779.
So from the car park we head up some steps leading at the side of the visitor centre. Go past the picnic bench and carry on up the path, and you come to a small flight of stairs which takes you to the higher
The history
lodge.
of Birkacre. The earliest reference to Birkacre and its involvement with industry dates from the 14th century. Prior to this, farming was the main source of livelihood in the Yarrow Valley. The main reason for the establishment of industry at Birkacre was the good flow of water in the river Yarrow. The diversity of industry found at Birkacre was also influenced by the proximity of coal near the surface, a damp climate and soft water essential for textile manufacture.
So we follow the path to the right, walking along the top of the lodge. We come to over a little bridge and then up a few steps. Once up the
The
steps,
Chadwick
we turn
family
right.
held the estate during the 18th century. Edward Chadwick of Highburn Hall built metal working forges at Birkacre at this time, and in 1777 he constructed a purpose-built cotton mill. This was significant as at the time all spinning and weaving was being done by hand at home as a domestic industry. The factory system had arrived at Birkacre.
Keep following the path round to the left. We've got the main lodge on the right hand side, a little lodge on your left, and there's a nice path straight ahead through the trees. The path is littered with autumn leaves.
The textile industry was becoming a business. It needed purpose-built factories in which to carry out production work. Birkacre was one of the first. Many new inventions to speed up the process of manufacturing the textile spinning and weaving trade were being developed. These were power-driven machines which increased production. With more efficient methods of manufacture, the domestic industry was being replaced by the factory system. This transition put many of the domestic manufacturers out of business or decreased their earnings and caused much hardship.
So we keep following the main path all the way around the side of the lodge. Some nice autumn colours on the trees, the sun shining through. All along the path is a nice handrail, probably about thigh height.
The move by many groups to try and stop the spread of the factory system led to the onset of a period when machine breakers roamed the country and broke up painting engines, which were putting domestic trade out of business. In 1777, Edward Chadwick leased the mill to Richard Arkwright, who was a well-known inventor and industrialist. He was born in Preston and had mills in Derbyshire, and he is often referred to as the father of the Industrial Revolution. He leased the cotton mill, the higher and lower forges, a corn mill, 3 ponds and several fields at a total rent of £181.
There's a clearing in the trees now with a view over the lodge. There's a nice seating area. Now coming up to another clearing in the trees with another viewing area across the lodge. There are some seats here as well. Beautiful reflections in the water, autumnal colours and blue sky with white clouds. Got some swans.
Okay.
Looks like 2 adult swans and 2 young swans.
At this point, this is the site of former hire forge cottages. They were lived in by workers from the calico printing works and later the bleaching/dyeing works. They had gardens to the rear to ensure self-sufficiency.
Nice grassy area with plenty of seating.
This is Hire Forge, set up in 1760 and also called Burr Forge. It produced iron strapping.
Looking through the trees with the nice autumnal colours, we've got another lodge. And there's a viewing platform on your left hand side that takes you to a view over the lodge.
Camera.
The camera's now looking out over this small lodge. It pans down and there's another family of swans. Again, this time there's 1 adult and 3 young. Back along the path, we follow it. The sun is streaming in through the side. Nice autumnal colours of the trees again. This path heads out towards the weir, and before we get there we take a path on your left hand side.
Richard Arkwright fitted out the mill with his patent machines for the spinning of cotton, driven by a water wheel. It was the very first mill to be built in the Chorley area, rating this as an important development in the industrial history of Lancashire. It was the introduction of the factory system to the area. He invented the water spinning frame, which was state-of-the-art in the manufacture of cotton yarns.
Yeah.
And go through a gate which heads out of the woodland and across some common land. Once through the gate, we follow the path that leads slightly uphill across the grassy lands with the trees on our left hand side. This part of the path could be quite boggy at times depending on the weather. It leads uphill. We've got blue sky, some white clouds, trees dotted to our left and in front, and this is a lot more open, probably classed as heathland.
This is where the former colliery cottages were built in the 18th century, which were called Primrose Hill cottages.
The path now leads back into the woodland. We'll then loop back down to your right and leads back into the main woodland. By the side of the River Yarrow. Now we take the path to the right, which is quite steep. It's a short, steep section going down to the main path, so just take care on this section.
Dry Bones colliery shaft and winding engine base. The cottages close by are called Dry Bones cottages.
We now follow the main path back towards the weir, so we've now got the River Yarrow on our left hand side and the main part of woodland to your right. Again, this is another good path. This time of year it's littered with all the autumnal leaves. As we get closer to the weir, you can start to hear the rush of water. We keep following the path along the side of the River Yarrow, which is following downstream. You can now hear the roar of the water by the weir. It's a nice view of the still part of the river, with some nice autumnal leaves spreading out over the top. Carry on following the path as it goes up the steps. There's a handrail on your left hand side.
Thank you.
You then go down some more steps and they will take you to the viewing platform by the weir. Now on the viewing platform over the weir.
Birkacre Weir. The weir raises the water level of the River Yarrow. A series of watercourses allow water to flow from the river into the lodges. The fish ladder to the side of the weir was built in 2002 to allow fish to migrate upstream.
Now leave the weir behind us and we head down the path back towards the start and where the lodges were.
The Birkacre riots of 1779. The coming of the new mill was noted by the machine breakers, and in October of 1779 a large mob of men set off from the Blackrod area via many small villages en route to Birkacre, determined to stop the march of progress. The military had prior knowledge of the mob's movement and sent a force to Birkacre from Wigan under the charge of St Richard Clayton. The rioters met with the military on their arrival at Birkacre. It was Friday afternoon and the mob comprised of hundreds of men. Sir Richard Clayton tried to dissuade the mob from causing damage to the mill and left it at that, assuming his words would have the desired effect. after which he moved the larger part of his force to Preston, leaving only a small number of men at Birkacre with orders not to resist the mob if they started to cause damage to the mill. The weekend was a standoff time, yet it is said that local pewter was collected and melted down to make shot for the military force to use if necessary. On Monday, the attitude of the mob had changed to that of action. Despite local people defending the mill, the mob broke in as the military watched from a distance. There was an exchange of gunshots, but the mob was too great in numbers, reputed to be upward of 1,000. After destroying the inside of the mill, the machines, being made with wooden frames, were used to set fire to the premises. The mill was totally consumed by flames. At least one of the rioters was killed. The mob taking his body away as they left on Monday evening to continue their destruction on the way to Bolton. Richard Arkwright was not at Birkacre at the time of the riot, but was at one of his other mills in Derbyshire. However, a famous contemporary, Joshua Wedgwood, was in the area and reported the riot in a letter to a friend. Following the burning down of his mill, Richard Arkwright gave up the lease in 1779. Despite the destruction, Mr. Chadwick rebuilt the mill shortly after the riot. Within 2 years, rebuilding had taken place and Birkacre continued to develop, concentrating this time on the textile finishing business, namely calico printing, dyeing and bleaching.
Just before we get to the big lodge, we take a path on your left hand side and cross over the footbridge that goes over the River Yarrow. So we walk over the wooden footbridge, which has nice views either side up and down the River Yarrow. Then we follow the main path slightly uphill until we come to another path on your right hand side, which leads back through the woodlands. So we're now going through the gate on the right hand side, which leads into the woodlands.
From the mid-1800s, Birkacre was most successful under Macnaughton and Tom. Mr. John Tom, an expert chemist, purchased the Birr and Birkacre estate from the Anderton family in 1852. Under his guidance, the business grew in efficiency. Water power was superseded by steam power, and even a private coal mine was opened in 1880 to supply the needs of the works, which had now grown so much that they straddled the River Yarrow. In 1930, the Tom family sold out to larger companies who ran the works until 1939, when the collieries and works were closed down. Subsequently, all the buildings and adjoining land became derelict. The land remained derelict until the late 1980s, when Chorley Council obtained derelict land grants to restore the former mill lodges and create the recreational resource of Yarrow Valley Country Park that we know today.
So once we're at the top and the path turns round to your right, we follow the path downhill. There's some lovely autumn colours on the bracken, and it looks like this part of the path may be used by mountain bikes, as it looks like there's been some jumps and humps created for the bikes. So just be careful when you're on this area that there aren't any bikes knocking about.
This would have been the site of the former mine shaft and winding engine bed for Birkacre Colliery, as well as the Birkacre Colliery core wash system.
Once at the bottom of the path where it joins the main track, we take our right turn past some green railings.
So this is the picnic area and play area, which is here today, but it was the former site of the bleach works. The Lancashire boilers were used to power the works that were located here.
So we keep following the path, and that will bring us back over the River Yarrow on a small bridge and back into the main car park.
Okay guys, so that's just a trip around Birkacre and Yarrow Valley Park. There are plenty of other paths if you want to extend it, but we've tried to keep to the best paths that we can. We've told you the history of the site. At the end of the road, on the main road between Chorley and Copple, there is a bus stop which is about a quarter of a mile from the site, and it's every 15 minutes there's a bus from Chorley, so it is accessible if you want to come along. Bring plenty of benches, picnic benches, so bring a packed lunch. There is a cafe. I'm not sure if it's open at the moment because of the COVID lockdowns and things, but yeah, come along, give it a go and you'll enjoy it. Thanks for watching.
Galloway's support through sight loss.